But you can take the ferry out there.
Yeah, Tyler won't. Yeah. It's in the water, Jim. The Statue of Liberty. Now I know the one in Birmingham. It's on land.
Yeah.
The one in New York's in the water.
You can't see that one from very far away.
Yeah,
though.
you cannot. No.
Yeah. Anytime I had to take Taylor home early on in her time at next round, I always drove right past the Statue of Liberty. I don't need to see it. Right?
Yeah, you've already seen it.
Listen. My schedule is the city today.
Okay.
And if I pass the Statue of Liberty, I pass the Statue of Liberty. Then it's the arena all day tomorrow, the arena on Thursday, Friday, maybe Alabama Team Hotel, maybe back at the arena for the show. Saturday's the arena, if we're still playing. God willing, Sunday home, reunite with my wife, if she'll have me. And then Monday, back on the show again. And we're fiddling it out, hopefully. How to go cover two teams at the Final Four. That would be the dream scenario.
That would be the dream scenario. Okay, you're not making that plan. That's the dream scenario.
No, that's the dream scenario.
And a lot of people are saying baseball was started in Zach says baseball started in Hoboken. That's what Jim is talking about.
Go.
Okay.
That's right. And Major League Baseball starts this week. There you go. The symmetry of this whole trip now coming together.
Royal Payne in the chat says that if you Google search Hoboken, the first suggestion is Hoboken body found.
Ooh. Jim, let's be careful, Jim. The Hoboken body has been found, but that means at one point there was a Hoboken body.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and tell you that any search about anything around here, that has been the first thing that's popped up in my
crime statistics.
My timeline.
Crime statistics. Yeah. You get a lot of those up at that part.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and tell you this. My my hotel, not that it would stop anybody,
right?
But I have old school iron. Like your ironing board.
Okay.
I had it leaned against the door. Just if somebody made it through the door last night, it would at least make a ruckus.
Yes. No way anybody gets it.
Yeah, because I want to be awake when I get murdered.
Yes, I want to know it's coming.
Are you going to hang up some soup cans in your hotel room?
Tyler, listen. I'll go ahead and tell you. I had that ironing board leaned against the wall. And then I had the actual iron sitting on top of the ironing board, wedged in against that little latch thing that doesn't protect anything. Just hoping that maybe if he opened the door, very much like what was it, Home Alone, that would open, it would fall and hurt his foot.
Oh!
You set up a Tom and Jerry trap.
He did. Don't know what he's so worried about.
Wait. And then I had two garbage cans in the path between there and there to try to slow him down a little bit. I don't know why I always assume he's a him. And then a chair he'd have to maneuver around, giving me just enough time to wake up and get decent to get stabbed. I mean,
the hotel Dunaway is staying in is probably a top 5 brand. I'm not going to say the name. But, okay. I mean, if top 5 brand hotel, top 5 name hotel. It's right next to a golf course. I don't think you need to be that worried. I mean, the golf course.
I think you're overselling that golf course.
I don't know. I saw it on Google Earth when you told me where you were staying. It looked like a nice enough golf course.
Yeah, it must be out the back door because I haven't seen it. I got the interstate out the front door here.
Well, that's just being in New Jersey.
And these curtains from the original Tonight Show.
I know. I'm waiting to see the guest. Stephen Pearl's going to walk out from behind the curtains shortly.
I'm telling you. Richard Nixon, what are we going to do about Watergate?
The biggest and baddest track in NASCAR, Talladega Superspeedway, ready to put on another amazing show in April. If you've never been to this track, you got to check it out. The Beast is 2.5 miles of nothing but pure speed and incredible action at every turn. Don't miss the Jack Links 500 NASCAR weekend at Talladega Superspeedway, April 25 through 27. Get your tickets now, TalladegaSuperspeedway.com, TalladegaSuperspeedway.com. Also, a reminder to you, is your power bill higher than expected? Changes in your energy
We are happy to have you, Braves Country. Welcome to the Pennant Grace, brought to you by Roback. Partner, we've got Braves baseball this week, and it ain't just spring training. Braves kick off the season Thursday, opening day, a mere 2 days away for the Atlanta Braves. It is a great time to celebrate.
It is. It is finally here. It's the best time of year. I feel like this is when sports are at its best. We have basketball, we have baseball, we have golf. The only thing we're missing is football, but we have spring practice. That's where I'm coming back from. I'm in Auburn with two great friends of the show. Actually, we've got Chris McCauley up here, Braves fan.
Hey,
And we
Chris.
also have Johnny.
Hey,
Red Sox
Johnny.
fan.
I am very glad that you were not driving as you were co-hosting this show. Safety first. We always preach that here on the Pennant Grace. Safety first.
Of course.
So,
we're
EG joining us
excited, though.
there on the plains. Good day there in Auburn as you head back?
Yeah, we got to hear from head coach Hugh Freeze on the status of what Auburn is at right now with their program. It was great to hear from him. I was down there yesterday for Pro Day as well. And we also got a live look into practice today, which is always exciting. That is all posted on the Next Rounds account. And so we got to see the quarterbacks, Jackson Arnold coming from OU, got to see him along with Deuce Knight. So it was a good day. We had to get down here, though, guys, we left at 5:45 this morning because practice is at 8:15.
Ooh.
Yeah.
It's early.
Little early.
Little early. Hope you got a little extra lemonade for the drive back home. So keep up with EG on all her adventures, both Braves related, college football, college basketball, and all things that she does through the Next Round at MEG Sports on Twitter, correct?
Yes,
Off the
thank
top
you,
of my
Ush.
head.
That's awesome for the
And
shout
obviously
out.
make
Also
sure
keep up
you're
with-
following us at the Pennant Grace,
Yes.
also on social media, show on YouTube, also on podcast. So anywhere that you want to watch or listen, we are available for you, and we are brought to you by Roback EG. Get along, little doggies. You see that?
I love it.
Repping
It
the
looks
brand
great.
today. For your first purchase, PG20 is going to save you 20% off your entire order for what is the best activewear brand in the country. But honestly, partner, that's probably limiting it by saying activewear. This has got, Roback, yes, clothes for the golf course, yes, clothes for working out, but it's also clothes for work, for church, for date night, for doing absolutely nothing and laying around the house. Roback has you covered in all of those. And I got to tell you guys something. EG and I are both big Masters fans, and their Masters-inspired collection is fantastic.
I haven't seen this yet.
Oh,
Ush.
you
I
have got to
not seen
take
it.
a look. Right there at Roback.com, you will see, and the azaleas are blooming at Roback.com. PG20 is going to save you 20% on your first order there. So this Thursday, 3:15 Central Time, is where you will find the Braves taking on the San Diego Padres. The team that ended the Braves season last year begins their season this year.
Yeah, it's going to be a great start to the season. And one thing that is of note, a lot of people I've seen on Twitter are concerned about jet lag and things like that. The Braves are actually already on the West Coast for their last spring training series against the Cubs. So they're in Arizona right now. They won't have to deal with that. They'll kick things off on Thursday. And it appears that it'll be a bullpen game to start things off. I'm curious to see how that will go. And then you also have Profar in a different uniform this year, Ush.
Yeah, that's a big deal. So he gets to start off immediately his first game as a Brave against his former team. So Chris Sale, Cy Young winner, taking the mound for Atlanta. We're taking on Michael King, who had a 2.95 ERA last season. That's the game one pitching matchup. That's the only one we
Wait.
have in stone there.
Okay, so that's interesting because I heard literally like 30 minutes ago that they were not going to go with Sale. But I need to check that because I just might have spread some misinformation.
Well, maybe you know something that I don't know. Now, that's what's still listed when you go to the Braves website. Sale is still listed as game one starter for Thursday. So if that's changed, I'll
Okay.
let you look that up and you keep us posted. So obviously Atlanta opening with a very good team with a sizable payroll in San Diego. So they'll have a big test right off the bat. You're on the West Coast. You're on the road. You're playing a good team. And it's an exciting time of the year for everyone.
Yeah,
Even
it
maybe
is.
Scott Forrester, because our beloved Scott Forrester, White Sox fan, but his team has not lost any games at this point. And so even you can have that. Everyone can have that glimmer of hope on opening day.
Absolutely. And one thing that I'm looking forward to is I'm curious about this Padres lineup, along with, I think they're on the theme that the Braves are on of you have to stay healthy. And the Padres lineup is very top heavy. And like I said, we saw this team, we closed things out, we meet with them again. What is your prediction, Ush, on a potential win streak? How many do you think the Braves can take from the Padres?
I would be happy just to take the series, but you never want to put too much importance on any one series, especially something this starting the season at. It's really just going to be interesting to see what kind of takeaways you can have from Atlanta. What does the lineup look like? Does it change throughout the series? And really with that pitching, interesting to see who are they putting in certain situations. How is if you bring in the bullpen in the fifth inning, for instance, what does that look like? What is your 7 and 8? So I'm really going to be interesting more to see how they look out there together, how that's set up, knowing you're not going to have Ronald Acuna back yet, but still hoping for a May return for him, obviously. So really it's less about wins and losses for me in the early part of the season and more about what the team looks like, getting comfortable with the changes that we see, some of the familiar faces not being there, and then obviously some of the new faces as well.
What would you say your confidence level is in the rotation coming into opening day?
I have high confidence in the rotation. I believe the Braves have an all-around team to compete for a World Series. And I feel like they have the lineup, and I feel like they have the rotation and the bullpen. Now, big questions about the bullpen. Really, the season, and we talked about this a little bit last week, the season really just, the main thing on the mind of Braves fans is just health.
Right.
And, I think most believe, even without an abundance of off-season moves, that if healthy, this is a team that can compete with anyone. Now, the Padres know this better than anyone, being in the same division. But I think every team, not just even in the National League, in baseball, has taken a back seat to the reigning champions, the Los Angeles Dodgers. And the attention is on the Dodgers. The prediction for everyone seems to be the Dodgers.
Yep.
And I think other teams can take advantage of that. I think Atlanta is one of those. Now, most people do have Atlanta as a top 5 team. I believe that will be the case. I don't see any reason why it shouldn't. You can't predict injury type things like that happened last year. You hope it's more of an isolated thing and not some type of trend.
Well, I also think when you mentioned that the Braves are in a good spot projected to, hang with the Dodgers, I think what that speaks to is the balance that this team has. Now, barring injury, when you look at this lineup specifically from top to bottom, there's opportunity at every turn. And I think that is what's really interesting about the Braves. As you mentioned, there weren't many offseason moves. When you start looking at it, this is a really balanced offense.
It really is. And, it's going to be interesting to see. Since we last talked, by the way, Ian Anderson, who we talked about possibly being, competing for a starter spot, has been traded. Jesse Chavez has come back. That's not we were just waiting on that. 7th, your favorite number, EG, 7th stint with the Atlanta Braves for Jesse Chavez. It's a tradition unlike any other.
It really is, and I hope he has a house in Atlanta that he just rents out when he's not using it, because that is crazy but not a shock.
And then to see a guy, a surefire future Hall of Famer who began his career and made a name for himself with Atlanta, and Craig Kimbrell coming back, that's probably a long shot in some ways, but boy, would I love to see Craig Kimbrell be able to have a Braves uniform on and contribute to the success of this team in whatever role.
Now, is that on your wish list we're going to talk about today?
It is not technically on that wish list, but it is certainly in my heart, a wish list mentality. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. I don't know what hat he has on for that. I'd love for it to be a Braves hat, but I'd love to see this work out for him. Big fan of Craig Kimbrell. Just have such great memories of him. That Eric O'Flaherty, Johnny Venters, Craig Kimbrell, 7th, 8th, and 9th inning trio was just absolutely special.
Now, do you have any last thoughts on the Padres preview to move into the wish list we've got?
Let's move in. We can talk more Padres Thursday when we've got games right there upon us. So we decided to come up with a little wish list. When I was a child, the Sears put out the wish book, the catalog where it was massive. It was like the size of an encyclopedia, and it'd be your Sears wish book, and you'd look through and you'd pick all the toys that you would want and never would get. Dated myself a little bit with that one, EG, but we can come up with our wish list a little bit here, and I wanted to go as specific as possible. So get us started with your first item on your Atlanta Braves 2025 wish list.
Absolutely. So I actually shared my wish list with Chris McCauley, huge Braves fan, and we had the same exact three.
Wow.
Okay? I know. So the first one is to stay healthy. And I am talking about Acuna. I'm talking about Sale. I'm talking about Strider. I'm talking about Sean Murphy. And I'm going to even extend that to Ozzy Albies. Staying healthy is my number one wish for the Atlanta Braves. I think a lot of people would share in that wish. I'm sure that crossed your mind as you were constructing yours. But my number one wish is just for overall health of this team.
If the team stays healthy, worst case scenario is they're a wild card team at the end of the year.
Agreed.
I don't see there's any way that this team's not a postseason team. Mine is I would like to see an MVP candidate type season from one specific guy, Austin Riley. Austin Riley was among those who suffered injury woes last year, and so he had a shortened season, batted .256, 19 home runs, 56 RBIs. I would love to see Austin Riley establish himself from the level that he's at, which is a well-known, obviously coveted guy, signed that massive long-term deal, to that elite third baseman MVP discussion type player. I would love to see that from Austin. I think that would be could really be transformative for that franchise to see him step out above what we've seen from him.
And I think he's been on the cusp, and we've seen those little flashes. And I don't think that is too crazy of an ask. I think it's only a matter of time. And you mentioned that injury that he had last season. So I think that kind of ties together with mine. Number one is he can stay healthy. I think that's definitely in the cards. My number two wish also has to do with the player. That's Orlando Arcia.
Yes.
I want to see him improve at the plate. Last season, his average was around 143. He hasn't had a great spring training, but I think that him taking that step at the plate will help drastically in this lineup and be someone that you can rely on in that position.
By all accounts, one of the most popular guys in the clubhouse, and a good shortstop. And so I don't think anyone has a problem with his defense. His 2024 season was disappointing, and that was a move that certain Braves fans wanted to see made. They wanted to see a difference at shortstop. Braves did not go that route. They retained Orlando. And so I'm with you on that one. It would be great to see him bounce back, see what he did in 2023. My number two is I would like to see Atlanta by the end of the season be known as the team with the best outfield in Major League Baseball. And I think they have the best opportunity to do that than they have had in recent memory. When Ronald Acuna returns, and you have Ronald Acuna in right field, Michael Harris II in center field, and Jerickson Profar in left field, I think Atlanta has the opportunity, both from a defensive and offensive standpoint, to have the best outfield in Major League Baseball. You got three guys that can drive in a lot of runs for you right there. You got three guys that can hit with power, three good hitters, and obviously what they do there in the field.
All right, my number three is to lower their average of leaving runners in scoring position.
Woo!
So I looked up the stat.
I love it.
And they were averaging about 3 to 4 runners, 3.39, I want to say, leaving runners in scoring position. I think that was something that was a big complaint out of Braves fans. We have talked about it. We talked about it last season on the show. We talked about it in the offseason. That was something that the Braves really struggled with, and I want to see that number get pretty low this season.
You would be intoxicated if you played a drinking game where EG and I sat in my living room and yelled at the TV of ducks on the pond that were left out there. That was as frustrating a thing as we went through last year as anything, honestly. I think it was the most frustrating thing, other than just the injuries themselves.
Right. I mean, it was one of those things that you're watching and you're seeing these guys do their part getting on base, and it seemed like the only thing that could happen were home runs. And when they didn't, you leave guys stranded, and it happened game in and game out. And there were so many situational times where it really could have been the difference in the game. Obviously, runs are always a difference, but it kept stacking up for the Braves. That is something that has to change this season.
My number 3, my final one, someone, pitcher very popular on this show. We were championing this guy from day one. That is to see no sophomore slump from Spencer Schwellenbach. He has solidified his place in that rotation and has looked good in spring training. Spencer Schwellenbach, 3.35 ERA. Last year, he was 8-7. That's over 123 innings pitched. We were really impressed with the poise and command of this guy, the confidence that he has. I would love to see that continue in this guy because I think he has an opportunity to be a long-term staple of that starting rotation.
Well, we call him the special for a reason. I cannot agree more. And I think that that's something that people need to consider, too, is that he's entering his sophomore season. And, another guy that really needs to have a non-slump of a season is Profar, too. We haven't mentioned him, but he obviously did incredible things last season. He kind of lump into that same thing of him continuing on in his success.
I agree. So as we move on, just again, a reminder, we will be back with you Thursday, 12:15. Yep. Set your alerts, subscribe. We are on YouTube and everywhere you get your podcasts as well. Make sure you're following us on social media at the Pennant Grace. As the season gets going, you'll see a lot of content there. Best way to keep up is to follow us there on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at the Pennant Grace. One of the big stories last season off the field was how to watch, and in a lot of cases, how not to watch the Atlanta Braves. Now, for those that have been around a long time, the Braves used to be the easiest team in all of baseball to access. Way back when, for years and years, the Braves were a staple on the Superstation, WTBS. And even though that model changed, unfortunately, because I missed those days, the Braves were still easy to get. Well, last year we had this big dispute between what was then known as Bally's, is now known as FanDuel, and certain cable providers, even there in the Atlanta area. And so you had so many people that were without television coverage of the Braves. Now, at the time, we wanted to encourage folks to download the At-Bat app, Braves coverage there, 680 The Fan. Still want to do that. The Braves radio crew, Ben Ingram and his revolving group, Joe Simpson and others of color commentators do a fantastic job. But the TV side is also very strong. We love what Brandon Gaulden is doing there as the play-by-play voice of the Braves. And now it's going to be easier this year for Braves fans to watch their team.
Yeah, so Bally has become FanDuel Sports Network. So it'll be interesting to see kind of how the fan reception is in terms of different graphics will be used, and like the kind of on-screen production will be slightly different just because, it's a bit of a rebrand. But for $20 a month, you can stream all of the Braves games, and that is an added bonus. So you don't need cable anymore. Now, some people might find that frustrating because you just want to flip on the channel. I think, for my parents, their wish list, and I think maybe for you too, Ush, would be that the Braves go back to TBS and call it a day.
Yes.
But it is not the case anymore. So there is some added costs that you might be dealing with, but it should be pretty easy once you're subscribed to that FanDuel network to start streaming games. Now, there's also an added kind of caveat to all this, and that's Gray Television.
Yes.
So that will be where opening day is streamed, and then they will have an additional 14 regular season games, including the home opener, and then every Friday game in Truist Park will be on Gray Television. Yeah,
so that's good to have as well. Keep in mind, for those that forgot, Braves or baseball season, 162 games. It's long. And so wish there was more there from them.
Yeah.
Now, if you're like me and in the Birmingham area and have Spectrum, that will remain as is. You're able to watch the team every game available there, other than when they are on ESPN, which is the last year of that, or perhaps on you have a few games, I think, on Apple? Yeah. So, but most of the games will still be available, yes, on FanDuel, which you still have. That's the old Bally's networks there. If you're on Spectrum, you're good. But I think that the addition of being able to have that as an additional download, the price point is reasonable, and I think it'll be a pretty popular option for folks. Anyway, regardless, it's at least going to be better than last year. Agreed?
Yeah. Absolutely. And my parents who live in Atlanta, they struggle to get games, and we're 15 minutes at that from Truist Park. And so I think this will alleviate a lot of things for some people. And I think baseball in general, though, as we've talked about that, they need to have a better model for watching games. You can't want to grow the game of baseball and have it be so hard to find your team on any given day. And I do think, teams like the Dodgers, we should be able to watch their games with ease because they're obviously one of the best teams in baseball. Even the Phillies, these other, powerhouses, if you want to grow the game of baseball, baseball has to be more accessible going forward. I think this is a step in the right direction, but I do think we're going to eventually get to a point where the model is you will subscribe to a team and you can have as many subscriptions as you like, but I do see a world where it goes all subscription-based.
Yeah, I agree. By the way, the message on the screen for me was that Emily Grace McWhorter's bandwidth is low. So I'm going to go ahead and book her a doctor's appointment when she gets back into town, get that low bandwidth taken care of. Don't want to sleep on that, get that checked out. You're back now. So I agree with you. An improvement, but both of us feel that Major League Baseball is still behind when it comes to how they not only how they broadcast their product, but how they make it accessible in all ways for people. And it should be available in more ways, more options, so it's accessible for as many people as possible. Let's get more eyeballs, particularly young viewers, in on baseball, being able to pick a team and watch their team. Our team is the Atlanta Braves. We're going to be with you all season long covering the Braves and a few other things around Major League Baseball. We're able to do that thanks to our friends at Roback. On your initial order, use code PG20 and save 20% off the whole order, and you can throw whatever you want in there. You can have the polos and the lightweight hoodie and a hat and the pants and the workout gear, whatever you want. Save 20% on that first order. Code PG20. EG, safe travels back to Birmingham.
Thank you.
And
trying to get there safely.
We'll be back this Thursday at 12:15. And I'm so excited that we have a long weekend full of Atlanta Braves baseball to watch. Doesn't that feel good?
It feels good. Make sure you guys stick with us. Thursday at 12:15 we'll be live, and we'll be posting on social media. And I have a feeling, we may go live after maybe game one.
I think that's a good idea, especially since it's not a late game, and so you don't have to worry about someone being a baby and having an early bedtime.
Agreed. So
talking about myself there. So
twice in one day on Thursday, so make sure you have those alerts on to see when we go live. As always, we would love to have you, Braves Country, and we'll see you on Thursday.